Welcome back everyone. Today we're gonna have a look at a Reanimator list that I put together in standard. It's coming right up. You can look at the description also if you're interested in just seeing the list. But I'm just gonna touch briefly on why I don't think Reanimator is necessarily in such a good place right now. And the first reason and the strongest reason why it's not so good, even though we have reanimated cards, is that we don't have good targets. We don't have anything that we really want to bring back from the graveyard. I mean, we could bring back stuff from the graveyard, but at most we're gaining like one card, like a Placa Worm or something. Like, there's no effects that are that strong that they win us the game. Like in the past we had cards like this, like Griselbrand. Griselbrand is flying lifelink, 7/7, that's pretty strong in by itself, but it had pay 7 life, draw 7 cards, and that's the important part of it, because if you played Griselbrand out and you draw 2 new hands, you essentially won the game. There's some cases where you didn't, but in most cases you just won the game. There were other cards, of course, which were even stronger, but only played in, that I know at least, only played in Legacy and maybe Modern, saw some play. And that's Emrakul, the Aeon's Thorn. Okay. It can't be countered, doesn't matter. When you cast Emrakul, take an extra turn after this one, doesn't matter because you don't cast it, you cheat it into play. And with flying, protection from colored spells, that's pretty good. Nothing can hit it essentially. And Annihilator 6. Annihilator is a old keyword from back in the days, and you maybe don't remember it, or maybe you didn't even play back then. What it did is your opponent sacrifices 6 permanents. Yes, 6 permanents. So essentially you wipe their entire board, and what you used this with, and still use this with in Legacy and probably Modern also, is a card called Glorious Vengeance. It's an instant for 2. Return a legendary creature from your graveyard to the battlefield and sacrifice at the end of turn. It doesn't matter that you sacrifice at the end of turn, because you've already kind of won the game when you sacrifice it anyway. Because you're getting Annihilator 6, your opponent sacrifices 6 permanent, and you're dealing 15 damage. Yeah, so that's what we need. That's a real finisher. Like, you get this out and you win the game. We have nothing of the sorts in standard. We're gonna have a look at the alternative in standard in just a second. Also, historically we had much better Reanimator cards. Now, the Reanimate effect, if we can call it that, seems to be valued at about 5 mana. All the Reanimator cards that we have available to us cost 5 mana. Sure, Liliana has kind of a Reanimator effect and she only costs 4, but it's not really, because you still have to pay the mana, so it doesn't count. If you want the exact Reanimator effect, return a target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield, you need to pay 5 in the current standard. Historically you used to pay 4. They've raised it a little bit, and I mean, if you go further back, this looks like a new card, but it's actually a very old card. Reanimate. Put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It's interesting that you can also take your opponent creatures. It probably doesn't matter except in the mirror maybe. You lose life equal to its converted mana cost. And historically this was fine, because back in the day, way back when they printed this card, creatures weren't that strong anyway. So losing life equal to the converted mana cost and maybe your opponent just kills it usually wasn't worth it. Kind of. So it was kind of balanced back then. We also had effects like this, Entomb. Search your library for a card. That card, put that card into your graveyard, then shuffle your library. So you don't need to have your entire deck full of Reanimator cards just to have it in your hand to be able to discard it to then be able to reanimate it. You could just have Entomb. Entomb and maybe a couple of discard cards and maybe 4 or 5 cards which you actually want to reanimate. So this made you able to not have your entire deck be, you know, reanimate. You could have some threats, maybe some counters, and a little bit of other stuff in there, some discard outlets and stuff like that. But now, if we go to we have available to us, let's first look at the creatures. Well, here's the creature list. Here's all the expensive creatures. What we want is, of course, something which wins us the game. There are a couple of things here which you could consider. Like, I've seen people run Endrace Forerunners. To make this a card where we win the game, we have to have a lot of creatures in play to get the +2/+2, and it's, I don't know, it's awkward. You have to evaluate these, like, what happened. The most likely case when you reanimate something is that your opponent's going to untap and then kill it. So how much value did I get off? How close am I to winning, even if my opponent kills the creature? At end race Forerunners, you're not really closer to winning if they kill it. The best card that I could find among all these cards, which makes you closest to winning after you've played it, even if your opponent kills it, is Gishath, Sun's Avatar. I'm gonna read it. When Gishath, Sun's Avatar deals combat damage to a player, reveal that many cards from the top of your library, put any number of dinosaur creature cards from among them onto the battlefield, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. It has Vigilance, Trample, Haste, so since you have Trample, you're probably gonna get this effect off, but the problem with this card is you're gonna have a deck full of dinosaurs, probably big dinosaurs, because you know you want to win when you get this effect off. And you also have to fit Reanimator cards in, and you also have to fit discard in, so it's impossible to fit everything into the deck without making into a shit deck which can't do anything else except maybe rely on this combo, which is hard to get off in the first place. So I'm going to post a list like that. I don't think it's as competitive as this list below, but I think it's like when you get off the Reanimator target, you're probably gonna be more satisfied because you're more likely to have won the game when you get the Reanimator off. With this list though, which is a Niv-Mizzet Reanimator list, we're not looking to really win the game. We're like very likely to win the game if we get the Reanimator off. If we have Niv-Mizzet in play in any deck, you're very likely to win, but you're not necessarily winning when you get it off. It's just more value kind of thing that we're going for here, kind of a control shell. So the reason why I wanted to play Niv-Mizzet is because I thought Sarkhan Fireblood just fits perfectly into this kind of Reanimator archetype, because you have two abilities which are relevant for us here. You may discard a card if you do draw a card, which is perfect because now we have a discard outlet, and we have add 2 mana in any combination of colors, spend this mana only to cast dragon spells. So we have a way of actually casting Niv-Mizzet in case we don't draw the Reanimator spell, so that's great. And it also synergizes with discard, which is another reason why I wanted to play this. This is a legendary sorcery. Yawgmoth's Vile Offering costs 5 mana. You're maybe not familiar with legendary sorcery because it's like 5 in the game. But what it does is you can only cast this if you have a legendary creature or planeswalker. All planeswalkers are legendary, so far. So that it doesn't matter if the planeswalker is legendary or not. But this of course works with Sarkhan Fireblood. You can have Sarkhan Fireblood out and you can play Yawgmoth's Vile Offering, and you can reanimate something like a Niv-Mizzet, for instance, which also you can play with Sarkhan. And another good dragon is Nicol Bolas. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, why don't you play, since you have dragons, why don't you reanimate something like the Hellkite, for instance, which is a 5 mana card. It's a little bit more expensive, so you're getting arguably a little bit more value, but I don't think that's necessarily as good. We're not able to play Yawgmoth Vile Offering because it's not a legendary card. And also Nicol Bolas, you have kind of two uses here. You can play it out and it can enable Yawgmoth's Vile Offering, which your opponent is not going to suspect anyway, or you can have this as a target. Maybe you have Sarkhan Fireblood out and you play Vile Offering and then you bring back Nicol Bolas, or you bring back Niv-Mizzet. Like, there's many combinations of having something in play and then bringing something back that we're going for. And since we have so much draw and discard also, we're probably gonna, find our Sarkhans or our Nicol Bolas. But we need some way of defending or like surviving until this point, and that's why we have 4 Cry of the Carnarium and 2 Ritual of Soot to just be able to survive, hopefully, the onslaught of, aggro decks before we get to our reanimate spells. Because remember, all our reanimated spells cost 5, so quite a hefty cost there. Other than that, we have 4 Charter Cores, which is, in my opinion, the best card to get something into the graveyard. Because it's also really good when you don't need to put something in the graveyard. For instance, let's say I have Nicol Bolas out and you're attacking in, and then you cast Charter Cores, and you can just use to draw cards. It's a good card in by itself. Radical Idea is a decent card, but you don't want too many. Remember, we have all these cards which cost 5 mana, so we're not gonna have too much mana available to us, really. So if you have too many Radical Ideas in the deck, I think what's going to happen is you're going to be stuck with all these radical ideas, since you're first going to have to play it, and then you're going to have to, you know, play it again with a jumpstart to actually get rid of something in your hand. So you don't want too many. I think 2 is fine. Then we have Tormenting Voice. Tormenting Voice, the reason I don't want more of this is because it's kind of a shit card. Now, it's not a shit card, but it's certainly not as good as it maybe could be. It's on the weaker side, so that's why I only have 1, because I don't want too many radical ideas, essentially. And then we have Beacon Bolt. Beacon Bolt is fine, but probably don't want too many, because it's kind of costly to cast. It's 3 mana, and then, you know, you need to cast it again for 3 mana to get the jumpstart off to actually get discard off, so it's a bit expensive. And then we have Eldest Reborn, of course. So if you think about it, we have a lot of Planeswalker and creature removal. First, of course, we have Cry of the Carnarium, Ritual of Soot, but we also have Eldest Reborn and Yawgmoths, which both hit Planeswalkers. So we have very, very good game against, you know, creatures and Planeswalkers, which makes this into kind of a control deck, which kind of more incidentally reanimates in a way more than actually needs the reanimation. Like, this deck runs fine without reanimation. It gets even better with the reanimation because it's kind of difficult to cast Niv-Mizzet. So, and it's very good if you bring it back from the grave, and if you get the double effect off here with the Yawgmoth's Vile Offering, where you both kill something and get something back from the grave, you're getting that value that you're kind of missing in that the cards are not that strong by themselves. So for instance, let's say you have a Nicol Bolas in your graveyard and you play Yawgmoth's Vile Offering, so you're killing something, which is, you know, 1 value point right there. Then you're bringing something back, that's 1 value point, and Nicol Bolas is discarding something, so you're kind of getting a 3-for-1 out of your Yawgmoth's Vile Offering. And same if you bring Niv-Mizzet back, you're getting 2 things from your Yawgmoths, and then you're also getting Niv-Mizzet, which, if your opponent wants to kill it, you're going to draw a card, so it's kind of a 3-for-1 there also. So you're getting tons and tons of value, and you have amazing, like, late game and removal potential. The only problem with this deck that I see, I think it's I don't think it's maybe necessarily top tier, but I think it's decently enough competitive. But the glaring problem right here is that, what are we gonna do against mono red? Like, they're probably gonna run us over. We don't have any ramp in this deck, and we're just gonna durdle around for 2 turns and hopefully get them with a Cry of the Carnarium, maybe slow them down. Like, yeah, I don't know. So I think against mono red, if we want to beat them, I think we kind of have to transition the entire deck. Maybe take out all the Reborns, all the Yawgmoths, some of the Niv-Mizzet, like have maybe 12 cards or 10 cards in the sideboard, which we just bring in against mono red just to be able to deal with that matchup, because I think we have decent matchup, or maybe even quite good against control decks. Of course, we Cry of the Carnarium and Ritual of Soot is dead, but every other card is kind of alive in this deck against that archetype, and also having uncounterable things is really good against control. And against creature decks, well, we're very geared against the average creature decks, because we have tons of removal and we can kill, you know, big creatures, planeswalkers, everything. So yeah, that's pretty much the list. Let me know if you have some other idea. I'm going to post other lists, other Reanimator versions, but this is the most kind of competitive, I think, because it includes cards which are good in by themselves, which are not only good if you get the reanimation off. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, then remember to smash subscribe.